Hey there, my name is Pravus, and welcome to more Timberborn in Woodsyville. Alright, well, we have a couple things that I would like to do in this series before we start to wrap things up, because I think we're kind of rapidly approaching that point. Not that there isn't plenty more that we could do, technically, so much as... I mean, is there a lot of new stuff that we want to do, or is it mostly just going to be a lot of the same old, and that's kind of the situation I'm in. There's a couple of goals I have in mind. One, this giant area needs to become an even bigger water reservoir. I'm talking build these levees up by like a lot more so we can store all the way up to like this level of water, right up over here. Gonna take a while to get that much built out, gonna take a lot of logs, probably another district or two, but I think it can be done. The other thing that I would like to do is start damming up this giant lake area so the water is less likely to flow out during a drought. And then maybe we can create some sort of a lake town over here, you know? Something beautiful on a huge reservoir of lake constantly flowing up from upstream. That could be kind of nice. So that's kind of what I'm going for right now. Everything else is basically just locked behind lots and lots of science, which is going to take a very long time to achieve, such as the wonders and stuff, right? We want to get the Flame of Progress, the Tribute to Ingenuity, 12,000 science? I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot of science. It's going to take me hours and hours of just letting this game run at max speed, even if I had unlimited food and water in order to reach that point. It's just going to take forever, so I'm not sure we're going to make that the goal. I don't think we can say that I'm going to make every single well-being metric maxed out and say, that's it, we're done, we've beat the game. No, we're just going to keep going until we feel like we've done probably enough. And I feel like once I have an almost ridiculous amount of water stored up in this general area, right, that will insulate us from droughts for at least the next several hours of the game, and then a giant lake town over here would just be kind of fun. Both are very large-scale projects, though, so it's going to take me a bit of time to pull that off. To that extent, let's go ahead and start cutting down some trees over in this area, and we are going to need to set up another district, one probably right down over here by this outlet, so we can build up a dam there, and then maybe another one like over here so we can build out onto the lake, and we'll have fun with that. Now, building out onto the lake would require a load of resources. Lots of planks, lots of everything, basically, in order to get tons of platforms, but it would be kind of cool to do. Another thing we can do, by the way, I feel like we're still pretty low on books. I'm going to set down another printing press, but this time we're just going to go ahead and rotate it around over here. And that way, we have a job on this district, but it's within range, whereas before, if we had flipped it around, we already found out that was not good enough. So cool, we can go ahead and start getting ourselves some more books, because that's one of the only luxury goods that we're kind of trying to produce, and we can't get anywhere near enough. It turns out beavers are hungry for knowledge. They love to read. Drought should be finally coming to an end. We only just now dropped a water level, so we still have a fair bit of water left over after that drought, which is way better than we have been in the past, by a pretty large margin, in fact, so I'm quite happy with that arrangement. Okay, yeah, no, I mean, really, if you can get a massive reservoir of water, like, that just eliminates almost the entire challenge of the game, hence why I kind of see getting one giant dam like this as kind of an end state. Like, at that point, the only challenge is just to keep growing without running out of food, which, by the way, we're doing completely fine on now. Absolutely nothing to worry about there. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm working on that. I think it would be interesting if they added in some other natural disasters in the game. Not just droughts. What happens if there's, like, giant catastrophic floods, right? That's a whole new challenge. Now you have an excess of water, and if you're not very careful about how you drain it away, you might end up flooding your entire area and causing new issues. Wouldn't that be interesting? I think that would be interesting. I'd like to see that added into the game at some point. I also hope that at some point they plan on adding in seasons, right? Because I just feel like maybe, you know, perpetual summer is simplistic. I think it'd be interesting to have some other challenges of different weather. For example, during the summer you have massive droughts. During the fall, or the spring or something, you have the wet season and you have lots of floods. And then, of course, during winter, well, I hope you have a lot of food stored up, because otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble. That kind of thing would be interesting. Maybe the water even freezes over, and that adds in some new challenges instead. Ooh, if you don't have enough water actually stored up and somehow be able to thaw it out, then you have new problems. See, like, that would be interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe someday they add that in. This is still technically an early access title. There's a lot more that still needs to be done with this game. Another drought on the way. How long is it going to be this time? Is it another, like, 5-day drought, which is really easy to deal with? Or are we talking like a really long drought that I'm not going to be happy with? By the way, this area appears to be flooding. There we go. Now we can build out this levee, and all the water can flow out as before. Okay, trying to prevent a bit of flooding over here, but now we can control this area and we can preserve a pretty hefty amount of water in this lake. Let's go ahead and unlock the underground warehouse. It's been a while. We should at least see what it looks like. So it's only a 3x3. Oh, that's actually, that's pretty acceptable for me. That's a very reasonable amount of space for me to take up for 4,000 storage. And pretty much all across the main town of Woodsyville, we are having a lot of storage issues, which is reducing how much we are actually producing because, well, everyone's kind of stopping their jobs, and that's causing some problems. So we're going to go ahead and clear out some of these little trees. And with a big honkin' underground warehouse, I'm hoping this solves a lot of our problems, or we're going to see our resources explode once again. That would be quite nice. I'm also going to go ahead and build out another one of these distribution posts, because I fully expect that I'm going to need several more people available to start dropping off resources over in this district, because I want to go ahead and start building out some platforms in this area. Is it efficient, really, to build on the lake as opposed to around the lake? Probably not. But is it going to look a lot cooler? Heck yes it is, man. Heck yes. Oh yeah, this extra storage seems to be making a pretty big difference. Already we've almost half filled this thing, but I'm watching the beavers go in and out and in and out, and they got all sorts of good stuff over there. All of a sudden, all these like, we can't place anything anywhere, messages seem to have gone away. So I think that's done a lot to kind of remove some of the gridlock inside my main base. So we're getting there. The only downside, of course, to my current placement is it's a little bit too far away from distribution posts. They have to walk a longer way, but whatever. It's fine. We are gradually delivering resources over here to this drop-off point. Once we've got a fair bit more resources to work with, I'm especially thinking of things like logs, we can go ahead and start transferring some people over here, and hopefully we can start working on actually building out the base. Down over here, for the most part, we actually find ourselves with plenty of resources once I built over to this side. There were blueberries and everything. What's all this? It dried out and died. Lots of dead blueberries as well, but it's okay. Tons of pine trees I can work with, and pine resin if I so desired to actually capture any of it, but I mean, really, do I need the pine resin? Harder to say. I am expanding out some of my tree farming operations up towards some of these cliffs over here, so I can start growing some pine trees, and that will get me some pine resin that way. I'd also like to start building off over here with the goal of placing down yet another district, a very small one, and we can start damming up this area over here. This appears to be, I think, the deepest part of the potential dam. So we could actually have a lot of water backed up and then just let it gradually trickle down this river at our convenience, which would probably prevent us from having any major issues with flooding in this area if I control that cleverly, at least for a good long while. By the way, we are starting to have some issues with our water level. We should probably go ahead and drop this down a little bit and keep the water flowing. Would hate for that to run out entirely. This has been a longer drought, hence why we can see that this gauge has been running a fair bit lower, but okay. We've got the levee finished up over here, so that's a lot more space built up in this way. So that's good. If anything, we're now at more risk of it flooding over here, which I would hate for that to happen. We have not yet finished up over here, though, which surprises me. It's too far away from a construction site, really. I thought that they could just stack buildings on top of what they've already accessed, but apparently that is not the case. No. Weird. Okay, so they actually can't reach all this. Well, boo, I might just have to build some stairs on top of these levees and encourage people to walk along as they build it. I know that not all the water is exactly where I need it to be, but we really do store quite a bit up. I mean, between that lake now being a thing, plus this, which is gradually being built out to be able to hold more and more water, we're getting somewhere. We really can hold a lot of water on most of the areas of the map where we would have water normally, despite the drought being fairly long last time around. It does start to become an issue at some point. Case in point, I did have a few beavers die of thirst up in this general area because without this water pump running, they had no water. Yes, I should have been distributing more water over here. I didn't pay attention, and then I saw a bunch of people died. Oh well, sue me, we'll be fine, but yes, we do need to have the distribution posts running kind of all the time. That's actually one of the things that's really hurting me, I think, is the amount of distribution we need to do in order to maintain all of these districts. Like, not very many are what I would call self-sufficient at this point, so there's a lot of distribution that needs to occur, which means lots of labor. And our carrying speed isn't absolutely fantastic, if I'm being honest. It still takes a pretty darn long while to deliver just about anything across the entirety of the map. Makes me sad. Would prefer that our people were able to move around a lot faster than this. We could try to research the observatory This does give a fair bit more science, only 0.78 hours to get 10 science instead of 3.1 to get 3. That's a much, 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 much better return. Yes, it takes some pine resin, but we've actually got that. The big trick here is making sure we actually have some consistent power to work with, but I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and unlock one of those. What does it look like? Well, it's a 3x3 building. It's fairly large. One windmill would probably be enough to sustain this in most circumstances. Of course, that's still based on the whims of the wind, but I think I'm willing to accept that in order to at least possibly get some extra science. I don't know if I want to set up another set of water wheels, though. The only way I can get more power out of the river at this point is if I actually start using levees to, like, direct the flow in several different areas, which I could do, but, like, meh? I don't know if I want to. I really am not in the mood. How are you really doing from a food perspective? For the most part, pretty good. We've got lots of chestnuts coming in. We have actually a surprising amount of maple syrup I'm currently not using at all, and we probably should. Lots and lots of wheat. It's taking a while to grind it down, but we do get a fair bit. I've got 2,000 bread to work with right now. Wow. Surprisingly, we don't have an absolute ton of potatoes and stuff, and absolutely no spatterdock to speak of. We seem unable to actually sustain our spatterdock, but for the most part, like food-wise, we're looking good, and bread is a pretty nice abundant resource, like I was saying. So, from a food perspective, I feel great. I'm watching our water with a little bit of suspicion. It's kind of fluctuated up and down. I don't think it's dropped below 500 for a while, but there has been at least a bit of fluctuation. As you can see, we're already back up to about 670, so yeah, it's going all over the place right now, but that's fine. This area is actually finished building out its giant pier. Well, that's nice. So the question now is, how are we going to go ahead and build this place out? We can use these double platforms in order to give us a lot more space to work with. What would I like, for example? How about we start by building a bunch of platforms where I can place down some water generation, right? We're going to want water pumps. So one for now, and then we'll probably add in more later. We should also consider where we're going to be placing some housing. Now, this time around, I don't need to be placing some platforms. We can go ahead and just build a triple lodge, which I take it back, actually are not able to reach up this far. Gosh dang it. Okay. Well, the water is just a little bit too deep, it would appear. I would need to place down at least a handful of platforms in order to make that work, but that's probably still worth it because I'd like to have a lot of housing out over the lake just because it would look really cool. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and build this out. Oh, we have finally exhausted all of the metal in this area. Okay. So no more metal for me. We could research the mine once I've got 4,000 science stacked up, which is going to take a while. This is also very expensive and requires the refined planks, which I don't have as of yet, but would allow me to just go ahead and get some extra metal. The problem is, I think it has to be placed... Whoop, can't do that right now. Has to be placed on an underground mine, which is the quote-unquote Sarlacc pit thing I was looking at over here. Heck, one more reason why I should be placing down a district somewhere off in this area so we can build up the dam, but also have a new consistent source of metal. That said, I've already got enough scrap metal and refined metal to last me for at least a while, so I don't think it's a super high priority. We can ignore it for a little bit longer. A carousel. Yeah, carousel would be good to go ahead and get. We can do that now. Where am I going to place it, though? Tell you what, we're going to go ahead and place the carousel right over here. Don't know if I like all the positioning of this, but we'll do that. And that's going to take a lot of power, which, again, I'm just going to have to accept that we're not going to have the most consistent power in the world, but I'll use a single large windmill in order to sustain this thing. Actually, I don't know if I like this positioning, though. Hang on, let me think. I want to be able to have a path that gets around, because I'd still like to be able to make use of things like the natural stairs and stuff over here, just in case I want to expand a bit further, so this will be fine. Yeah, okay, regardless, though, the idea is having another source of leisure with which we can boost up our production speed a little bit more. More working speed is good, always, every time. Oh, we can just place it directly like this. That's even more convenient. Boom, there we go. Windmills for the win. How much power are we generating here? 180? That is almost enough if only we had more workers. Hold up. Let's go ahead and pause a bunch of these inventor jobs, and they maybe just go ahead and move over to the observatory, because this is way better. Much, much more efficient science generation than any of these inventor huts. That's better, look at that. Cool, man. Cool. All right, the carousel will be done as soon as we have some power, and then people can start using this for a bit of amusement. Well, they seem to like it a lot, actually. Look at them go, little beavers. Whee! We're going in circles. Yeah, we're making another left turn. We're still making a left turn. Gosh, I know that children find it amusing. As a child, I did too. But why? When we think about it, really, what's like the intellectual stimulation that makes that exciting? What is it in our brains that thinks, hey, a merry-go-round, we're traveling in a big circle. Whee! That's so fun. Isn't that just kind of a weird thing for us to like, or am I overthinking it? I am probably overthinking it. Never mind. Ah, crud. No, this is exactly what I did not want to see. We didn't build up the levee fast enough, and now we've got a little bit of water that's starting to flood through this area. Hold up. We're going to cause some downstream issues, but let the water out for real. There we go. All right, just a quick little bit of relief. While we try to burn some of this level back down toward 2. Yes, it causes some flooding over here. Hopefully it ends up being okay. This area needs to get plugged up. I think the problem is this is just like slightly considered to be out of range, or at least on the very edge of the range. I had to build up some stairs in this area just to try and get this thing to work. At least now the water stopped flowing and it didn't reach anything vital, so we're okay. And this water will go away eventually, so crisis kind of averted. But at the same time, come on, dude. That's not what you wanted to see. It's not what you wanted to see at all. And now we have too much water flowing over here, and it's causing issues down this way. Oy, water management, man. Who knew? It's a really tricky business, but we're getting somewhere. Slowly but surely. I do want to keep building out a levee off in this direction. We're going to want to get rid of this water pump at some point. Again, my grand vision is that we're going to start building up water in this area sufficiently that this whole area here is not going to be very usable going forward. But we're not there yet because, well, there's a whole lot more that I need to do. It's going to take forever to actually chop all this down and get these levees set up, especially without a higher birth rate. For some reason, it feels like I'm kind of plateauing out on terms of births. We got at least a few unemployed people here, but we used to have like 30 unemployed folks. Somehow, despite the fact that I am providing a higher quality of life than usual, people aren't bothering to use things like the campfire or the rooftop terraces. I really couldn't tell you why they're doing that, but they're not making use of anything except for basic things like food. I have hungry beavers, but not getting busy beavers, if that makes any sense. Sounds a little wrong when I say it that way, but you know what I mean. I decided to pull back the work hours by another hour, so only 13-hour work days, which has resulted, by the way, in a lot more people actually going to the campfire rooftop terraces, there we go, which increases the fertility rate, hence why all of a sudden I've got myself about 15 kids. Takes a while for that to really come to fruition, but I mean, hey, it's good to finally have more kids to work with, because we are struggling with maintaining our current jobs in the main district. There's just kind of too much to do, and apparently a very stable birth to death rate, which is resulting us making basically no progress whatsoever. We are still trying pretty hard to get these printing presses to work the way I want them to. I need to be getting more books. Books is something we are consistently using up way more of than I know what to do with. But I really don't see what else that I'm supposed to do. Again, shy of like starting to channel out large areas to manage the power completely, what really are we going to do if we want to keep expanding our industry? Not an absolute ton. It might be time to just go ahead and accept the fact that we're going to have lots of windmills. Or, if we had a huge abundance of extra workers, we could place down a whole lot more hamster wheels. But are we there for that? No, we are nowhere near ready for that, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to live with what I've got for the moment and just pray that it works out. This stream over here, we are trying to store up as much water in the main lake as possible. I did want to try building up some suspension bridges. Haven't had any time to do those yet. I kind of figured they were going to be like actual, like, you know, log suspension bridges, and if all I had to do was set up a quick little bridge like this, and they would automatically connect on both sides in some way, but no. No, you've actually got to build them across the entire length, and the longer they are, the more resources they require. At some point, I don't see any point in building suspension bridges. It would literally be cheaper and faster for me if I simply used platforms. That's just kind of one of those silly things to me. It works if you have, like, really high ravines. But across something kind of simple like this? Nah, just go for the platforms. It's the same net result. Let's see. I've placed a whole bunch of dynamite over here. I'm having a really hard time getting enough range where I feel like I could comfortably place down a district. All I need are some stairs down here, and then I can place a district as far as I need to, and we'll be fine. Let's go ahead and detonate this entire area. Like that. There we go. And if I place some stairs over here, this should be in range, and then I can just go ahead and bomb down a little bit more, like over here, and that should lower the level enough. We should be able to build both rounds of stairs. Then I can place a district over here. Then I can go ahead and have people dropping off resources, and we can build out this entire area and start working on building up another dam if we want to. I think that there's kind of a weird limitation in this game just because you always are going to have a fixed maximum inflow rate of water in this particular map. Like, there will come a point where your population is so large, in theory, that you would basically just kind of hit equilibrium for the amount of water you're pumping out and things would never get downstream, right? And you're never going to have ways of increasing your water flow. All you can ever do is make sure that there is some sort of a surplus and then store as much of that surplus as possible for when you need it. But it's not really a question of if you're going to die at some point due to a lack of water in a really, really bad drought. It's kind of a matter of when. You may have to play for like tens or hundreds of hours in one map before you reach it, but you will reach that point. I've never really been a fan of that kind of a mechanic in a game. It just feels like a certain, level of futility. It's kind of like how oxygen not included used to be. In fact, it still might be. I haven't played in a very long time, but there comes a point where you really will exhaust all of a particular resource on your map, and at some point you are going to die. You might be able to last for a ridiculously long time and give up long before you die, but it will happen. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I prefer things eventually get to a point where they're completely self-sustained and renewable. All I can do is basically keep playing until I get to such a point where I feel like it's not really worth the hours invested to keep expanding. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of rapidly reaching that point. One more round of detonations. Skadoosh. That's very satisfying. I will give it that. Place down some more steps, and okay. Now we've solved the issue where we should be able to reach into this area, which means if I want to then go ahead and, let's say, delete this and then place down a new district gate, we could have yet another district somewhere over here. I'm kind of annoyed a little bit. I'm complaining a lot now, I know that, but I'm kind of annoyed a little bit by the limitations of the range of districts. It feels like they don't reach quite far enough. Like, I don't want to have to sustain, 8 different colonies all over the map. Some people might be into that. I'm not sure that I really am. So I would honestly much prefer that wasn't a thing. And yet, here we are, having to deal with that, managing populations all over the place. And these guys off in the outskirts, they are consigned to having a more miserable life. Whereas everyone else, I don't know, they can all live in one giant metropolis, and it's going to look glorious. By the way, we're up to 33 children now, so reducing the hours worked has definitely boosted up my birth rate because people are actually visiting the social life well-being buildings. Let's see. Almost everyone who lives in proper Woodsyville gets affected by the labor monument. It's everyone on the outskirts who doesn't, and then a handful of other folks. For the most part, that's looking good. Still not getting a lot of use of things like the Lido and the Carousel. I feel like we need a lot more of these. And books, man. You just can't get enough books. That's a little irritating to me. It's not like I don't have plenty of paper. We got 1,000 paper. I just literally can't seem to get enough people to work at these printing presses consistently. We need more power. That's what I need. I desperately need more power. I feel like the only way we're going to pull that off is through some rather major operations to sculpt this landscape, set down another set of water wheels, and kind of use these shafts to transfer the power all the way up here, and that's how we're going to create another industrial sector. Or something similar over here, I suppose, would work just fine too. Right? We need to get more power somehow. But the flow is obviously terrible right now, so I don't know. I'm just so limited. There's so much more I want to do, but it's going to be so impractical to do all of it. Another drought comes to an end, and did I even feel it? Not really. Again, aside from the complete lack of power, everything's looking okay. In fact, we actually have it's about the same amount of water lost at the end of the day. Yeah, we still haven't been able to actually store up any more water this video than I did before. All we've done is just prevent some leaks, but I mean, we're growing. We are getting somewhere. But I really need to build out levees everywhere, and I mean everywhere, in order to get all this stuff. And it takes a long time if you didn't know. It takes a very long time for all this stuff to reach everything over here. So I don't know. Even if I have this entire area levied out, the water input is so low compared to what I need, right? I need a certain outflow. that it just isn't going to replenish much faster than what I've already got. Now, maybe I could have built like a more targeted dam in like one big square over here, and I would have had the satisfaction of building that really tall and watching it fill up, but like, is that really that much better than what I've already got? Probably not. Oh boy, I don't know. I don't mean to sound really negative on this. This game definitely hits a point where it's like, well, I've kind of accomplished just about everything that I should want to accomplish, so kind of what else is there to do except for just build the same things but bigger and better, right? That's kind of the situation I'm running into. I think this next video is probably going to be my last. There are a couple things I want to do first. Let's go ahead and make sure we get stuff like the wooden workshop. Let's get our final production chain over there. Let's expand out a bit more in Lake Town. Let's get the rest of this entire lake area levied off so I can start really raising up the water level over here, which will make me feel pretty good. And that's it, honestly. That's kind of it. I guess maybe get some more underground metals and stuff, but yeah, next video I think is going to be the end, because this was a 2-hour recording session for I don't feel like a whole lot of progress. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. So I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.